how does one navigate around relationships and being a parent while you are growing your literacy and your empire?
That's a really good question. And, before I go into it, I really do want to make it clear to everyone, there is no perfect bullets in terms of how you can go about this. You do this, and it's going to work perfectly well for you. Every single family dynamics varies. It doesn't really mean that if this person does this thing, since it's going to work for everyone else. So it varies with everyone. For example, I was speaking to one of my mentees, and they were talking about, how challenging it is to be able to manage, building their empire and at the same time juggling the family affair. Now, without mentioning any names, like the situation was, he worked full time, in most cases on an average 14 hours per day, 6 days a week. And why he had a very supporting partner that, basically did all the heavy lifting at home, taking the kids to school, bringing the kids back home, taking the kids to, their, sporting events and so on and so forth. And he felt this old feeling like he's never really around for the little one in most cases. But at the same time, he felt that, he had to do this. What I got him to understand was, for the events that the little one is going to, the lifestyle that they have, the school, the social events, the travels, and all this requires capital. It requires funds to do it. And that's why he's got a quite a unique partnership where wherever he lacks, the partner picks up, and wherever the partner lacks, he picks up. They both complement each other in a way. And for them, for the little one to be able to have all that he has, the money has to come from somewhere. And that's the sacrifice they have to make. Now, he can choose to not do that and be home more often. What sort of effect would that have on their family on their family budgets? Does that mean they'll have to downgrade in type of cars, the type of car they drive, downgrade in type of home they live in, downgrade in terms of school that a child goes to, downgrade in terms of the holiday they go to? They can do that. It's a personal choice they have to make as well. But the bottom line is, what I see too often, I see parents beat themselves too hard that they're not able to be there for their child most of the time. And my advice is, there's a certain phase that we all go through. There's a phase of when you have to accumulate, which means you have to really work hard. And if you've got a partner that you can explain to what the journey looks like, what needs to be done now based on a certain window of opportunity that you've got that requires to give 10, 15, 20 hours for whatever certain period of time. Don't feel bad about it. You're doing what you have to do for you to be able to provide for your family. Because the bottom line is, all the stuff that the little one is going to, someone is funding that. And that's you, right? So having that understanding that you're doing what you can do for the betterment for your family, I would say it's a better way to look at it rather than you beating yourself. And I would even go 2 steps further and say,
I really enjoy the event. I like Collins' style of presentation. Some of my key takeaways were just different mindset and thinking about generational wealth. Some of the main things that I picked up was how one generation starts doing it tough. Then they pass on strength to the next generation. That next generation then starts building wealth. And then as it's passed on to the next generation, you find that some of the next generation become weaker and weaker, and then they destroy that wealth. So what I got from that was how to think about, as we are building wealth here, how do we change that narrative so that our kids learn how we are doing things, so that they don't become lazy and weak and destroy that wealth. So what I'm going to be doing myself is starting to involve my kids a lot more, teaching them about what I'm doing. When I'm doing an investment or business, actually bring them in, teach them what I'm doing, so that when we pass the wealth on to them, they won't destroy it. So that's what I got from today. Excellent value. I also made some great connections today. That's one of the things that I find valuable about attending these sort of events. You make valuable connections.
When you look at most kids, that mom and dad are there for them at their sporting events, every single sporting event, every single, getaway, that mom and dad are always there 24/7 for them. I can argue the fact that some of those kids are normally depressed. The kids that's basically that is hardly there in most cases, that is hardly there all the time, learn certain skills and understanding that you don't always get what you want in most cases, right? And I think this is actually a perfect time for me to use myself as an example. I love using myself as an example. Now, growing up as a kid, I would say hardly. I think my dad never really came to any of my sporting events. Never came to any of my sporting events. But mom was always there, auntie was always there sometimes, uncles were there sometimes, but dad was hardly there. To be fair, maybe sure to be one or two, but he knew nothing about me growing up as a kid. But he get downloaded by mom will give him information as to what's happening here and there. And, I can see him go through the report, and sometimes he'll go, what's this particular scope, or coming to events or certain issue. Dad never did that. Now, growing up as a kid, and when I saw other kids with their mom and dad, sometimes it made me feel a certain way, and sometimes I felt resentment towards my dad. But now that I'm grown up, I would say I've got a stronger relationship with my dad. There's a feeling, it gave me a sense of resilience in me, knowing that I can't always have everything that I want in a perfect setting, but I can make the most with what I have at that particular setting, in a way. Right? And the relationship I have with my dad now is quite amazing, right? So there is no perfect balance going, all right, just pour everything to my kid. How's that kid gonna turn out? Or a kid that lacks in one part love. But as long as a kid is loved and they can see love from mom and dad in their own way, I think that's fine. I don't think mom and dad has to drop everything and be there 24/7 all the time. There's certain times that kid needs to figure out things on their own without the help of mom and dad. It builds up some sense of resilience in that kid. That would be my take on that. And I think it's a conversation that we need to have more often. That I see a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners trying to build an empire struggle with, feeling like bad parents, really feeling like bad parents that they're not there for their child. And I'm saying to them, don't feel that way. You are there for your child in your own way. It may not be based on the standard that your neighbor expects you to be in. Yes, you might get some back talk from some people going, oh, you're putting your empire before your kids. That's not the case. So for mom and dads out there, grinding, grinding, working 14 hours a day, leaving the house before sunrise and getting back at sunset, hardly seeing your kid, going to bed, I want to commend you and say that you're doing the best you possibly can to put a roof over your child's head, and don't beat yourself over it. We've got single moms out there working 2-3 jobs to be able to provide for their kids, or single dad, or a joint family, but either mom or dad is providing the food on the table but having less time with the child. You're doing your very best in the very best way you know how to do it. Do not beat yourself over it. There is no perfect family out there based on what I can see. That would be my message to everyone.